Nova Scotia's EMO asked to use the hall as a registration centre for residents of Portapique who had fled their homes. An RCMP officer was posted here in a cruiser. By this time, police were on the hunt for the shooter, who they knew was impersonating a police officer. At 10:30 a.m., 2 RCMP officers fired multiple shots outside the hall. Sources have told CTV News the officers thought they were firing at the suspect when it was in fact a fellow Mountie.
This program is brought to you in part by...
Why don't you get yourself some turned-down collars, Poirot? They're much more the thing, you know.
The thing, Hastings? Do you think Poirot concerns himself with mere thingness?
No. No, I see that.
The turned-down collar is the first symptom of decay of the grey cells.
You know, I just think if people keep pushing, I can't, first of all, thank enough all of the hard work. There's 3 fellow YouTubers who are working very, very hard with me on this one. Rage in the Cage, Steve LTT, and Just My Stupid Opinion. Just plugging them, sorry. But they are fantastic guys, really been busting their humps here. And, you know, stepping up to the plate, because there's a certain amount of risk saying certain things. And also, likewise, all of the people who are volunteering information and time, which is, like I said, over on the Discord or sending me anonymously information, it is fantastic.
Morning, Ozzy, Janice, Roan. What time is it down on the East Coast? Almost 7 o'clock. Wow, okay. Early morning. Janice, Ozzy, and Roan. And we've got a couple of others. I started a broadcast and then I had to shut it down because there was too much echo. And now I have more people watching. Oh, no, lost somebody. All right, now, moving along. There was a story that came out. I wanted to talk about a few things. Paul, what's going on? Well, on the East Coast, because that's where the target is. Well, I don't know, maybe it's Ottawa. Who knows? How's everybody doing? So there was a story that came out. Thanks very much to special someone out there who brought it to my attention. Everybody's so good. Victims' families feel kept in the dark as RCMP released details on Nova Scotia's shooting. An unexpected revelation from the RCMP about the early moments of the deadly shooting spree in April has led to new criticism of how police responded to the tragedy. Families of the victims say they feel that they're being kept in the dark. Sarah Ritchie with the story. Okay. Interesting. Well, let's listen to that. Sound familiar? I think it sounds familiar. Now, have I got the audio shared on this? I think so. So now that means I have to do this.
For answers continues for family members of the 22 people killed in a shooting spree in Nova Scotia in April.
Nothing honestly sits well with any of us as far as answers go.
John Farrington's parents, Don and Frank Galenchen, were killed in Portapique on April 18th. Gabriel Wortman lit their home on fire before he left town, evading police. And Global News has learned that happened later than police initially said.
This information gathered since the incidents occurred lead us to believe that the gunman had actually left the Portapique area through a field at approximately 10:35.
Police now say they believe the gunman left Portapique at 10:45 p.m., 19 minutes after they arrived on the scene. This lawyer for families of the victims says it's concerning.
Well, I think it has to raise some red flags about the response. I mean, obviously, having twice as much time to assess the situation and make a response to the situation.
Criminologist Daryl Davies says he believes the responding officers in Portapique had a difficult task with little chance of success. But he says the RCMP needs to improve how it prepares for emergencies.
The RCMP have failed, for the last decade to bring about the kinds of changes that we need in Canada for this National Police Service to respond to these kinds of crises.
It's been more than 5 months since the RCMP provided a public update on the investigation, and Farrington says he learned this new information from Global News and not police.
It's like police are kind of keeping us in limbo, so it's not allowing us to do that. It's not allowing us to heal. It's not allowing us to move forward at all.
Police have not said why the timeline has changed. They declined requests for an interview for this story. Sarah Ritchie, Global News, Halifax.
Well, that's a surprise, isn't it? Have we heard that before? I think so. 10:45. Well, they still have some very bad math. At least in terms of how long he was in there. No, 10:45, no. 3 independent people now, I know of. 3 independent people. We're talking about much later. Okay? So, when will the bullshit stop? And why is it that the families keep getting information from the media? Let's see. Maybe this might help. Where is that? Here. Is that it? I have to give you a screenshot of it because I don't want to give away details of who received the email. Though they probably built little features into it so that they've got that figured out. Who cares? This is from Skippy peanut butter. I don't know, something. Yeah, no, I know who this is. I think we all do now by this point. And again, he's doing his job, but I think he's not operating for the families. Morning, Blue Nose. So this is going to be coming out November 9th. Okay, just wanted people to provide everyone a heads up that next Monday, November 16th, so 1 week ahead of time, there's going to be an ITO release in court. Not sure if this is going to be included, what will be included at this time in the documents. We'll have vetting because of the ongoing investigation. As before, I will send it to you all as soon as I have it so that you will see the documents before they are in the media. And then some, I don't know, niceties from Skipper. You know that there was a show back in the 80s? There's an interesting episode. Steve came across Skipper and Friends. I'm going to see if I can build it into an intro. All these things in my head, I've got some really great little things I can always put together, but of course it just, I don't know, never pans out. But there's a show, Skipper and Friends, I think it was called, and it was down in New Brunswick, the New Brunswick area. And Skipper, it was for children. Skipper was a character, and he went to the police department. He became a policeman. Great episode. Anyway, one of these days I should just broadcast it just for fun. I did download it. Now, we've heard the story before. Let's hear from Campbell. Let's go back in time. I'm using the YouTube one. I'm hoping it hasn't been altered. I think I've got it queued up, but we'll see.
So after receiving the first 911 call, just after 10 o'clock, officers arrived in the Portapique area around 10:26 in the evening. This information gathered since the incidents occurred lead us to believe that the gunman had actually left the Portapique area through a field at approximately 10:35. So if you note there on the image that I provided.
Okay, so 10:35. What was the wording again? I always find the wording interesting that he uses. Let's back that up a little bit. Oh, ooh, I backed it up a little too far. I'm not good at driving. Well, let's try that again.
So after receiving the first 911 call, just after 10 o'clock, officers arrived in the Portapique area around 10:26 in the evening. This information gathered since the incidents occurred lead us to believe that the gunman had actually left the Portapique area through a field at approximately 10:35. So if you note there.
Now, 10:35, subsequent, we learned that he drove through, somebody may have seen a vehicle driving through a field. We know that it's a new moon. You can't really see. Not sure. It could be a school bus. Could have been, I don't know, an RV. Could have been people fleeing from what was going on. But, you know, it has to be that RCMP officer. Or the RCMP car for sure, because they told you so, didn't they? Or did they not? Oh, that's right. They didn't. They just said a vehicle was driving in a field. Okay, moving along. So the timeline is changing, of course. Now, have we heard this business about being kept in the dark? Kept in the dark. Have we heard that before? I think we've heard this before. Let's see what Harry has to say about that. You may have to turn up your volume a little bit because it's a bit poor recording on Global's part.
The world has
bollocks. I thought I had the ad eliminated. We'll just wait till the ad plays through. Whatever that is, don't buy it.
We hear from you. That stuff that's been brought out just media. We hear from you. It's hurtful.
You don't know what to believe when you watch them on the news they have 4 or 5 different interviews at different times, and every interview they have, their words are different. They're stabbing themselves in the back, two-facing themselves. You wonder what the hell it is they're hiding and what they're not telling, because everybody can see it. If you're telling the truth, your story's not going to change. Their stories do change, so they're lying. You watch their body language, you can tell they're lying. It's not right. There's a lot of stuff that's been brought out in just media. I mean, we hear from you.
We hear from you. Kept in the dark, unexpected revelations, no public updates in 5 months. We learn from you. The ITO releases. I like this ITO release, by the way. These kinds of, it's like they've got them scheduled. Have you noticed this? Because I have. They already know what the ruling's going to be. They already know that it's coming out, but they don't know what's in it. How does that work exactly? Funny that. I don't know. Anyway, I sent Jessica Davis off a little something for her today, a meme about her being such a gatekeeper. Now, another thing I noticed was a story that popped up Alberta RCMP seek suspects. Oh, sorry, this was brought to my attention too. Suspects who used fake police vehicle to pull over semi demand money from driver. Okay. RCMP in Eastern Alberta are searching for 2 men who are wanted in an attempt to pull over a semi-truck driver using a car made to look like a police vehicle. Does this sound familiar? Around 10:40 a.m. Monday, Semi was heading south Highway 41, 15 kilometers north of Consort, near Highway 599, when the driver thought he was being pulled over by a police vehicle with lights that were activated. The Semi pulled over, at which point the 2 suspects got out of the car and approached the driver. Police said one of the suspects demanded money from the Semi driver. When the Semi driver noticed the men were not in police uniforms, he confronted the suspects, who ran back to the vehicle and drove off. They were last seen Highway 41, Consort. Police say the suspects, who are believed to be in their early 20s, were driving an older Crown White Victoria, kind of a shitty old police car, not used in many, many years, with black rims. The car had a light bar on the roof as well as on the front and back. Was reported to police that the vehicle had a large number 10 on the roof. Pretty hard to find, you know, like from the air, from those grounded helicopters and such. The vehicle also had decals on it. Decals! Wouldn't you know? Which seemed to be similar to RCMP decals. These types of incidents are obviously alarming in regards to somebody using any type of light package on a vehicle in an attempt to pull somebody over if they are not a police officer, said Corporal Ron Bumbury, a media relations officer with the RCMP. It's against the law, for one, basically to put on various light packages onto a vehicle, and on attempting to pull over a vehicle impersonating a police officer, approaching them obviously not in uniform particularly in this case, but that's against the law. But it's against the law. The RCMP are not currently using, because they haven't been forever and a day, white Crown Victoria cars for policing in Alberta, in the country, period. They haven't been. Bumbury said that there hasn't been any incidents like this happening in the area. Police are asking for public to keep their eyes peeled for the vehicle, the mysterious vehicle with 2 mysterious suspects pulling over a mysterious unnamed person. I'm beginning to have a problem with this. We're pretty sure that somebody has knowledge or knows something, or someone that may potentially own this type of vehicle with light bar package, potentially some police insignia on it. Perhaps they should go and talk to Sid Sell Signs, right? Because these things are all over the place. Or does that violate logic? Of course it does. Don't think this is... I'm going to have a Karnak moment. Here, I'll do my Karnak moment. No. There, I'll do this. What is that? I don't even know. Where's an envelope for me? I've got envelopes everywhere. Can I have a Karnak moment? Is this one? Here we go. I can do a Karnak. You know the Karnak? Remember Karnak from Carson? I think you're going to see more of these stories. I think, in fact, around the country, there have been a few of these stories. Have a look. You're going to see them in the media. Just a Karnak moment for you. Well, because it's on Ontario, don't you know, too. Do these incidents happen? Yes. Do they happen with cars that are fully deckled and lighted up and all this other nonsense? Absolutely not. I've put forward a challenge to anybody to produce, and of course, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but I would be very curious to find, because I never have, a perfect replica of a police car. I found only really shitty ones across North America. I haven't looked outside. But I've been looking for a long time. Nothing even remotely close. Laser Precision, I believe, was the person who works for the RCMP installing their decals, and said that, well, it's a little perfect. Anyway, moving along. Now, the story that we originally started there with was done by who? Oh, Sarah Ritchie. Sarah Ritchie has the story. Now, Sarah Ritchie also has been busy in her off time. She's been doing Nova Scotia Massacre. Are you guys familiar with this? 13 hours inside the Nova Scotia Massacre. I think they got a nice little page. I'm on the wrong thing here. Let me see if I can find that. You can find the nice, oh yes, actually here it is here. I've got the nice one. Right here. There we go. Now, who is doing this? This is global. 13 hours inside the Nova Scotia Massacre. Journey inside deadliest shooting spree with Sarah Ritchie at Global News as she tries to unravel what happened. Now, I haven't had a chance to listen to this. Somebody I was visiting with, very kind person, on the phone tonight, or this morning, whatever way you want to have a look at it. I was visiting with them for quite a while. Did have a chance to listen to it, and they called me back, and they're like, oh, okay, there's a lot of problems in this stuff. So I'm going to definitely have a listen to it, because apparently this is newly released, right? Well, it is newly released. I can leave you the link. Encourage you to go and grab it. I'm going to download it, absolutely. Hello, morning, Michael Stewart. There's a lot of BS in here. Now, what did we have going on before? This is the way that I've assessed the lay of the land. Oh, by the way, sorry. That's the second global production. You know, when you got one, you might as well do two, because we also have Nighttime Podcast, who has contacted me. I haven't heard back from him yet, and I'm not saying anything to be besmirching upon either of these individuals. Actually, there's a third individual that's tied into the other one. But Global has two okay, so we have Nighttime Podcast also, which is also global. Which does, let's see here. My apologies. Nighttime Podcast Global. Nighttime Podcast Global. So, you know, why not have two? Because that helps. Now, this is another Karnak moment I'm going to have, if you can bear with me. I predict that you're going to see a flood of information now, because it didn't work when they were trying to dismiss it. Too many people didn't buy the narrative that the RCMP was spitting out. So we have Fifth Estate for sure. Never did contact Brenda or Finley back. Never did contact her back, but I'm worried about how this is going to be spun. And I haven't liked some of the things I've heard so far. Now, whether that has to do with the journalists, the management upstairs, which I think in some cases is really what we're talking about, or just, and again, not to be deprecating upon anybody, shoddy journalist work. Because it's very important that we get the message out. So it's obviously a good thing to have as many places as you can get your story out. But we have W5, or sorry, Fifth Estate. I believe you're going to see a W5 coming out. I've heard something about that. And I've heard something about, there was another one I heard that's coming in addition to these two podcasts now that are going. So it didn't work before to bury the story. You remember Trudeau with the please don't mention his name. I think in 13 hours in this show, I was told they used the name, what do they call Lisa? Oh, some ridiculous name. They're like, we don't want to use this person's name. It's in the public media eye, but we're not, we don't want to use her name. So we're going to call her, I don't know, Fiddle Fart or something. Now, why? I mean, either don't use their name at all or use like Lisa. How about that? How about their real name? You could say, you don't even necessarily have to say their last name, which is kind of a half-truth then. But you definitely do not use a nom de plume and start using new names, putting new names on people. No, they have a real name. Now, I saw the warrant also was dumped out. I wonder how that ever came to light, which, you know, I want everybody to have that. I was waiting to see how that was going to come to light because that warrant has been out now. September 21st was the last warrant. So we're now into November, Remembrance Day. You can't really say Happy Remembrance Day, but it's a very important day. Remembrance Day. So it's been out for approximately a month and a half. 7 news outlets have this story. 7 news outlets have the warrant in their hands and have chosen to do virtually nothing with it. And nobody out of those media outlets, to the best of my knowledge, has turned that out to the public so that you can download it and have a read of it. You would have to go put in a request at the courthouse to go and get it. Why? Before we had Tim releasing it, now Tim is kind of, I don't know, he's friends with Jessica. Doing his thing with Jessica, torpedoing Paul, which I think was probably part of the plan from the beginning. Get everybody in one boat over in the Halifax Examiner, because Paul was there. You let Paul put out a few articles, and then all of a sudden you say, well, I'm busy. I can't really deal with anything. But the very day that there's a warrant release, the last warrant release, let's see, what was that? Remember this article? Okay, because you can see this a lot. I've gone through, I'm going to do a story about it. But you see how this was the article that he chose to run on the day of the warrant release. An article, not about the warrant. No. It was about torpedoing Paul. Let's get off topic. Let's destroy anybody who asks for the truth. Other things similarly come along at the same time. Whenever a warrant is released or around about a warrant, let's see, we had Leon, May 19th. The lead up to the warrant of May 19th was, first you had Brenda come out 1 week prior. In the Halifax Examiner, she didn't want to use her name because she was so terrified. She called herself Bo. In the national newspaper, as in the National Post, I guess she wasn't afraid then because she decided to call herself Brenda Forbes the same day, May 12th. I guess she suddenly lost her fear on the same day. The very same day. That was May 12th. Then we had a little bit of a lead up about the abuse stories and all of this kind of stuff. And of course, at the meantime, you had who was doing that? That was Linda and Jean and cohorts 7, really nondescript feminists, other than Jean and Linda, who really, up until that point, were fairly nondescript. Though they did get to go to the G7. How that happened, I don't know. Where they're getting their money from? Privately funded. Going to the UN? I don't know. Book deal? Book deal? I'm smelling book deal. Who got a book deal again? Who's getting book deals? Plural? I know probably what I say doesn't quite, you have to be able to be in my mind. I know who gets the book deals, okay? But watch the book deals. Jane Gerster? Bing. Oh, and what is she doing? Oh, she's running around pushing the Brenda story. Yeah, she was on Nighttime Podcast too. I haven't listened to those episodes yet, so I'm curious. But not all of them, anyway. I was listening to the Leon one, and of course we got Linda and Jean getting a book deal. There's some other people that gets book deals in this, but those will come to light. But suffice to say, because I know certain people watch this show who aren't playing for our team. I know this is the difference. And it's documented, so other people know too, a few other people. Your strategy really sucks balls. And I think you've got that figured out by now. You couldn't keep the name out of the media. Trudeau right away, I don't want the name being used because if you use the name, then you're going to put him into infamy. No, what he's saying to you is don't use the name because I want you to forget about it. I want you to forget about the story. Just go away. We fucked up here absolutely massively. We're criminally negligent and absolutely, without doubt, civilly liable due to our criminal behaviors. Bob Stanhouse, he came out and he spoke about this kind of stuff before. It's not about, per se, fighting crime. It's about the expansion of a gargantuan machine to which I have no concept. But I'll tell you, I study day in and day out and have since the beginning this institution. I had some, obviously, knowledge coming into this, more than probably just reading the newspaper, being that this is what I do. But I didn't have any idea how big the RCMP and how deep they go. They are a massive unit. And Bob Stanhouse spoke about this There's an article, Bob Stenhouse. Bob Stenhouse. Okay, this is the fellow. I'd like to speak to him one day if he would oblige me. Bob wrote this. He gave an interview to, I'm not sure if it was the McLean story. This was actually poo-pooed. I think you can only get it on archives, maybe. I think. That's where I found it anyways. And he made one quotation in this, I believe it's in this article, where he speaks of how the drug busts against the biker gangs were not really about putting any kind of dent in crime at all. In fact, what they were about, he being RCMP. How long was he RCMP? Let's just have a look here. Sorry, going through his timeline here. 20 years. 20 years. Mr. Big. I remember speaking to Leslie Jones, the Global Mail, a long time ago about the big Mr. Big and how that might be something to do with what we were looking at. She's like, oh, really? I never thought about that. 20 years. And he got the boot 2002. Well, he was involved with this story, the undercover Mountie. So it's McLean's archive. My apologies. It is their archive. So it's not as though it's been poo-pooed. But 2001, November 26th. Do you see a date here in common? Like very soon thereafter, he's getting removed from the force because he said, well, we didn't want to put a dent in crime. It was only about getting more money from the government. Oh, getting more money from you so that we could expand our, basically, he didn't even say that. He just said it was about getting more money from the government. That was his huge offense that he said that. And they fired him like that, which is very uncommon for the RCMP. Usually you'll have to go through quite a long, drawn-out process. In any case, I've looked at other than this. I'm sure there are others that have been quickly dismissed. But, there's appeals and blah, blah, blah. And it can drag out over a decade. In many cases, when they're trying to get somebody out on PTSD, which is very common. I think over 30% of the people, the Mounties that are retired from the RCMP are bum rushed out on PTSDs. Some of those legitimate and some of them not, which is clearly a problem. I don't know what occupation, including soldiers, etc., that has that kind of a discharge rate due to PTSD. Absolutely unbelievable, but that shows how shitty our employees are treating our employees. Do you see what I'm saying? So, good morning, Misfoot, and AWOL. What's going on? Mark. So, I would say keep your eyes peeled on the 19th. The 16th. The 16th, which will be fairly close to the, sorry, my math is bad. That would be the 7th month anniversary, which will be the 1819, right? So the 16th, they're releasing a warrant. Of course, they seem to already know that they're releasing the warrant, but they don't know what's in it. They don't know how that's working. Again, this is a complete logical disconnect, but I suppose that's like women running around in the woods with no coat. Oh, but that's right. They can fix that only after that's pointed out. Because what would we do? Oh, that's right. Because the latest warrant that you have furnished to you by somebody, I don't know how they got that, actually. That is only from families. Families have it, and the 7 media institutions which have chosen not to share it with anybody. And yes, I did have it, but on thinking about how possible legal ramifications, etc., I didn't know exactly if I could share it. But now that it's been shared, I think I can help people probably with because if anybody's seen it, and I've shown it before, I don't know where my copy is. Right now, there's a fucking paper everywhere. I don't know where it is. It's covered up with all kinds of redactions that say dealt with previously in hearings, something to this effect, which is a whole bunch of gobbledygook to get people lost, because what they're trying to do is eliminate previously unredacted information and make that redacted to confuse, i.e., we give you less information. We'll give you a little bit more here, but we'll take some away there. So you have to kind of put it all together. And there's been somebody who's been, two people in particular, who have been very kind and went through the warrant a while back and put all that together. So I think with their blessing, I'll have to ask their permission, obviously, we can share that, which is much more helpful than just a lot of black. Than the one that's out right now. And I feel fairly safe now, because then somebody else can take the heat. Unnamed can take the heat on that one. Not sure where they're coming from, how they got the warrant. Questions arise if you're reading through my stuff. So now the September 21st warrant, the coat, that was sworn out when? May 4th or 5th, I believe it was. May 4th or 5th. So 3 weeks later. If you go back and you had the stomach to actually watch some of my earlier stuff, or our earlier stuff, I should say, our earlier stuff, there was a lot of discussion very early on about, major points. And of course, one of them was the coat. I believe that would have been probably the day that Clinton made the interview that they've subsequently edited now twice. So now it's shorter by 2 minutes. Because then we had some more information and we looked at the temperatures. I think before that we looked at the temperatures even. But when he made a statement and he said that he had hypothermia, it all fell into place now. And he was not out there until, quote unquote, 7 o'clock, thereabouts, throwing coats out of the back of the vehicle that came to rescue her and leave everybody else. But I guess they came back and got dogs, right? The ERT, as people were getting assassinated around Nova Scotia, they had no problem going and getting dogs. Now, so they were able to write it as they go. Do you see what I'm saying? This is what they're doing. Oh, people are starting to ask questions about how is it that Lisa's not freezing her ass off? Oh, you know what we'll do? We'll put in the warrant that she had a coat, but she took it off and threw it in the woods, and then showed up at Leon's with no coat. Because that makes sense, don't you know? If you're cold, you're going to throw your coat away in the woods and then run around with no coat. Just like you're worried about hiding in a truck. You're going to open the door and the light comes on and you get in the truck, but then you're concerned about that the light you might be seen from the dome light, but the dome light goes off when you close the door. Oops. None of this is logical, but they just hope that people can be snowed. And I would say there is already clearly, right, a mass campaign, because the trying to bury it didn't work. Trying to lie about it, and there's lies all over the place. They are constantly contradicting themselves. Constantly. Even in the same interviews, they'll contradict themselves. Well, it's planned, but it's not planned. He was stockpiling, but it wasn't a plan. Everybody was stockpiling. Have you got it figured out yet? Or are they just trying to say you're really dumb and go away now? That's what they're doing. But that didn't work. And the rewriting of warrants didn't work. So this works. Let's pump out mass amounts. From what I understand, this show in particular is going off on the, as mentioned, again, I haven't listened to this yet. Maybe those of you who have are willing to pipe in. I'll leave it down here again, just for those of you who want to go and grab that. I'm going to make recordings of it, and then we have it for, I don't know, posterior, you know, like your bum. We'll have it for that sake, because I don't know. A lot of spin about how this is, Lisa's getting beaten up quite badly, and even though we know that she didn't, because obviously Leon attested to that fact. She wasn't hurt. And as far as he could see. So, I don't know, maybe she was getting hit with socks and pillows, or sorry, locks and socks. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. I remember that from boarding school. I went to boarding school, but it wasn't exactly a prep school. Now, but there was no outside visible damage to, I don't know what they want to call her in this. Fiddle fart? I think they call her fiddle fart or something in the show. I would be pissed about the soft voice. I hear there are some very good interviews in here, so I'm not totally trashing it. I'm not trashing who made it. I'm none of that. Likewise, I'm not trashing the other global show, Nighttime. Nighttime has reached out to me. I haven't heard back from him. He wants to do an interview, but and I did agree in this case to do an interview, but I'm not quite understanding. Well, I do understand, and I hope other people do. Whatever strategies they have aren't working. They're not working. And they are really afraid. Listen, if Paul can pump out an article about a New Brunswick crime that happened 2 years ago, I think, or over 2 years ago, and then the very next day you have the head of the New Brunswick RCMP coming out, being very vague, but talking about a specific journalist, Paul, but he doesn't want to say it. They never want to say those things because they don't want to draw attention so that you look at the truth. They say, oh, they need to verify their stuff. It's not accurate, blah, blah, blah. Really? All he did was publish the truth. I'm sure you can go back and find the same article, basically, with a few differences 2 years ago. But the RCMP shit their pants. They're shitting their pants because what's happening here, not good, not looking good on them. So, you know, they keep having problems. And if you want to see the timeline go from 1045 up to, let's see, 230, 230, stick around because it's going to keep going. Anybody with a logical mind can look at this stuff. There was some interesting tweets. I would encourage people to go and tweet about this or respond on the Facebooks. What is that lady's name again? Sarah Ritchie. And not to bash her. Again, it's not about that. It's about just telling truth, right? That's all. And we want to be told the truth. I think that's fair. Here's Sarah Ritchie's tweeties. Already got 2 episodes out of this. Now let's see here. Got lots of people who clearly haven't followed the story too closely. And again, I'm not bashing on them. That's just about a fact of how much time do we all have? But let's see some of the responses here. Here we go. Here's Chris Tucker again. Interesting. Chris Tucker is back in the scene. Okay. Moving along. I'll be listening. Okay. Now, where's the next part to this tweet? I did see one response, but it was hidden. Oh, here we go. Something like this. I don't think this is the same person I know. I don't think so. This person, because you guys may recognize this name, they seem to have a lot of porn followers. It's rather vile. Anyways, moving along. So I don't believe this is the same guy, so please don't fault them. Easy. This has to be hidden, right? Because you see all the swears in here? Oh, that's right. They didn't swear. Easy. Just stop the hoax. I haven't lived with the fake hoax in, oh, that's too bad. They misspelled it. In 6 months. Once I found out it was a hoax. Very easy. Just use your brain a little. Love it. I encourage you. Go drop some responses on Sarah. And just keep asking for the truth. Now, again, there are some great interviews from what I understand. I believe Tyler's in there, which is great because some of the information that I'd heard was true. I think we talked about some of that before, about the children. I think somebody told me I was wrong about that, but turns out it wasn't. And it's great to have it from him. So, several things about the unfortunate demise of his stepmom. Now, so I think that brings me up to speed. I'm working on a few other things. So keep watching for that new warrant to come out, November 16th. Watch for the masking, snowing articles that come out around it. Possibly even other events, like something else. Please look over here. The lawn is burning kind of over here, but the house over here is totally on fire. Don't look here. That's what the RCMP, that's another tactic they use, or just don't discuss. So watch for that warrant. Watch for the articles that are obfuscating and trying to misdirect your attention. Also watch for the Karnak moments of the cars that are, of course, totally souped up, because we know those just run around the street all the time. If you know of any of these other articles, please forward them to me, because I think they'll be all around. Because then it just lends credence to their story. Morning, Tara. Morning. Lends credence to their story. Tara's been fired up the last little bit for sure. Really fired up and doing lots of stuff. So many thanks to her. Which hopefully we can get. Yeah. Never know when it's the right time. But I was saying this to somebody else on the phone the other day. There is a ton of information that I do know. Yes, there is information I don't share. But I also understand, and I ask for your forgiveness in why I don't do that. Because I accumulate. I understand what the RCMP are doing, and if you keep firing off the little ones, they can just keep dismissing them. I want to deliver salvos that are like boom, and they have to really work extra overtime. I know that they're listening to my phones, and that's fine. Go ahead. You can't get in here, and that's where I do my stuff. Predominantly. Doesn't matter if I have notes here and there on the computer or whatever. Doesn't matter. Go ahead, go through it. You can't go in here yet. We'll see. Now, Lorraine, how's it going? Yeah, it's better to keep some of these things in the back pocket, but I just hope that the people who are really diligently working, and I do appreciate that very much, please, all I do is ask for your patience, because I don't want to help our employees out from screwing families out of the truth. It's really important. The properties down in Portapique also are getting sold left and right. We definitely know the province under the table. I'm not quite sure how that worked, because that's rather interesting one, how they bought Mr. Wortman's property. But I hope you got that message I sent you, Tara. About a certain firm that's handling some of these. Now, people really are getting rid of their stuff down there. Obviously, it's a traumatic place for many people. But we do have to remember that this person, hopefully, by all accounts, according to the RCMP, is gone. Right? Like we only were dealing with one person, which again, why if we're only dealing with one person and this kind of stuff, why is there an ongoing investigation? What is this bullshit that you keep spinning? I think it sounds like a yellow belly to me, honestly. I've never seen somebody who's such a puss in my life. I've seen a few pusses. I think we all have, but come on, be a man. Quit being a bad employee. Otherwise, I want my underwear back. I want it back anyway. Still hanging in Nova Scotia, lonely as crap because of small potatoes compared to the families affected. Well, they're just as much in the dark as we are. And I hope any publicity is good publicity, right? This kind of stuff, it is good, but it's only good if it's not promoting indoctrination of false ideas. False ideas. A woman that's getting beaten up isn't told, as in the warrant, I'm worried about you slipping. Be careful of the gas, Wortman, to Lisa, or Fiddle Fart, as they call her, or whatever, in 13 hours. I'm worried about you slipping in the gas, because that's how an abuser treats a woman. Logically, all we have to do is just use logic and, how do things really work? Can you run around and burn multiple pieces of property and kill 13 people in, what's that? Where are we at now? Oh, that's right. Moving target on the timeline. We'll just back that up another 10 minutes. Oh, we'll just change that video over there by half an hour. Oh, that timeline, that video over there is out by almost an hour. See me? Sounds like you're crafting the story. Oh, we'll find a coat that is in the woods. Oh, it's just that she was injured, but you couldn't see it. No. Probably the easiest explanation is the right one. In so much as, how long would it take for you to drive around? Could you identify a person who's pulled up if you're up high in a vehicle and the person is on the opposite side of the car, the driver's car is over here, and then you have the passenger side in a little Mazda versus an ERT team vehicle, because you can see through roofs with your X-ray vision. So you can shoot them in the car, even though the officially run RCMP time weigh scale, the weigh scale run by the RCMP. Yeah. Of course their timeline over there is off too. The video camera's just wrong, don't you know? By like an hour. Even Campbell. My God. I mean, he can't even get it. He's trying. These yahoos try. Where are we at here? My poor computer. Doodaloo. What does this say again? We could actually go and do that, because it would be good for you to listen to it if you haven't already. Campbell, 2750 mark of the April 28th bullshit song and dance thing that they were trotting out, says, Highway 102, our last video that we have, the suspect is crossing at 11:23. Because the time doesn't make sense. Because if one uses their eyes and looks, I remember when I saw that, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Then Tara was the one who was kind enough to go down to the weigh scale and actually look at it. I'm like, can you make sure that this is correct? Oh, yes, it was. 10:31. What time did he think it was again? Oh, he thought it was 10. Oops. I'll have to correct that. I guess he can read. At least he can read numbers. Maybe he can't read the script that well, but the number, 10. is quite clearly there. How does that work? It's just a series of lies, one after another, after another, after another. And we'll keep dragging it out longer and longer and longer. We'll keep subjecting all of these people until they go away. The problem is that I don't think they will go away. And I think, funnily enough, the stuff that you're seeing right now is due to you. It is. It's the things that is going on over here, predominantly, that's causing the biggest headaches for the RCMP. Other places help. Other places certainly do help, but I'm not being a braggart because that's not my way. But, it's just the investigating, the pointing out of things, that causes them a lot of headaches. And now they have to back the timeline up another 10 minutes. But that's going to fall apart because still, even in your own mind, think about it. You can't do what he was doing. It's not even logical, almost in a way. I don't want to go tinfoily at all, but it's very difficult. So I don't say it's impossible. Obviously, it's very possible, but it seems hard to wrap my head around the fact that one individual can commit all of these crimes all across the province for 13 hours and wind up in one piece. Because I know if he would have taken a beating from somebody like Aaron, he would have taken a beating from a lot of these people. And one person just jumping on him and throwing all kinds of trash at his way, and somebody else come along at the right time, he's not going to survive. I'm not saying that he couldn't. I mean, it's possible, I guess, but and seemingly he did. So again, I should be careful with that one because I don't want to be too tinfoily, but it's difficult. But I've seen too much bullshit in this story. All like just reeks. This story reeks. And I can see them over and over and over and over again. And new things all the time. And people tied to one another. I had some new stuff. Well, I always have new stuff, but I don't know if I should be talking about some of this yet. Or should be saving it. I like saving stuff. Then we can drop the booms. I got questions on that one first. Yeah. Okay. I don't think I'll get into any of that right now. We've discussed should I keep going into this one? Remember Mr. Whalen? Mr. Whalen is disappearing more. I don't know. I guess he wants to disappear. John Whalen. He's somebody in the story. Remember, he's somehow he employs Lloyd Johnson, Cigar Hut guy who doesn't work at the Cigar Hut, who was never there, but for some reason Global interviewed him. John Whalen. Let's see. Oops. I don't want to use Bing. I don't know why Bing keeps popping up. Have you messed with my computer? I don't want Bing. Oh, it doesn't show it in Google either. I guess you have to look on your. What was that? Chrome? I don't know. Let's see. I'll look on my phone. Okay, so we'll do John Whalen, right? Nova Scotia. Okay. And then we'll do. Oh, has he even disappeared more? Yeah, okay. Wait. No. No. Oh, I think he did disappear more. So first we had the disappearing of Whalen Psychological Services, which is still kind of there. But as you can see, the website on Whalen has disappeared. It's still there if you want to go and look. Somebody, I don't know, decided to archive it 29 times, a psychological website. Whalen. Copy. Archives. Let's see. Fuck off. Yeah, it's weird. See? Stuff's disappearing with this guy. Copy link address. Let's try that. Okay, there we go. Why would somebody 23 times? 23 times. Okay. Let's just go to the latest one. Sorry, what does he do? I provide therapy to adult and members of HRM Police Services, Veteran Affairs, Department of National Defense, and RCMP Health Services. And somehow he's tied up with, let's see here. What? First Nation Whalen Psychological Services, Economic Development Officer, Millbrook First Nation, Whalen Psychological Services. This was the fellow who was being interviewed. Cigar Hut guy who was never there? So why are you interviewing somebody who was never there? Does that make any sense to you? Remember? Wait a second here. Where's the video? Why am I always losing this? No, this, no, that's not the one I want. Charlie Marshall. That's getting off the internet in Ottawa. Right. Something wrong with this. Why am I can't find it? Oh, no. Anyway, I'm sorry. You guys have all seen that cigar guy, and of course he keeps talking about the cigar. So, I mean, when I first saw that video, and for many times subsequent, actually, I actually thought he worked at the Cigar Hut because he's like, well, I just had to finish my cigar. I love the cigar, saved my life, or the cigar this, cigar that. So I just assumed subtly, with all of that discussion of cigar, that he actually worked at the Cigar Hut. In reality, he had nothing to do with anything, and he wasn't on the scene. Kind of like a Brandon Forbes, who never saw anything. And they're not alone, by the way. There's other characters out there like that. Some who may think you may think are kind of allies. I would maintain no. I don't want to point fingers at this point in time, but be skeptical. Be skeptical. And so Mr. Whalen has decided to disappear himself. For what reason, I don't know. I phoned him the other day. Actually, we could phone. Why don't we phone? How about that? We'll call Whalen. See that number? The phone number changed. For some reason, they moved back in January. I don't know why.
Thank you for calling Whalen Psychological Services. As of January 2020, our clinic number of 902-461-0476 will be retired and replaced with the number 902-852-2874. We will be checking the voicemails on this 461 number periodically. However, the quickest way to contact us will be at the new number at 902-852-2874. Thank you.
So why did they change the phone number, you think? Let's try the new phone number. 1-902-852-2874.
Thank you for calling Whalen Psychological Services. We are unavailable at this time, but please leave a message after the tone and we'll return your call as soon as possible.
No website. Phone number changing. Attached to Lloyd Johnson. Attached to RCMP. Lloyd Johnson sees nothing. What else disappears? I think his address moved. Oh, yes, it did. Yes, let's look at his new address. Where were we here? Trauma and PTSD. Did his papers on abuse. Why does it not come up on Google like that? Should it not come up with the... Well, I know I got a screenshot of it. Oh, yes, no, we don't want to get into that. Where the fuck is it? Always misplacing everything. Yeah. I'll tell you, some of the characters I'm coming across, fucking weird, man. But I don't want to show this person's name. Like, what the fuck is that? Anybody want to tell me what that's about? Her name's come up. I'm like, oh my, who is that person? Obviously dealing with a different world here. Okay. So here's come on, focus. Okay. And there is, sorry, I don't know why it's not focusing. There's no phone number. There's no address, no website, no business hours. Okay. Now, when I went to, is that the one? The address? 18 Princess. Oop. Hold on a second here. Prince's Walk. I don't think that was the one. 18 Princess Walk. There's another address he's got listed. Okay. Can I look at that? Google? Street View? What is that? Okay. So his address is a house on this one. That's 18 Prince's Walk. Now, there was another address associated with this. What the hell was it? And it came back to somebody's name who was not related to Wayland. I forget what the hell it was. Let's see if I can find it in my pictures. I was like, who is this person now? It's a gigantic clusterfuck of stuff. Doesn't even make sense. Oh, that's not a very good post. But we won't go there. Okay, now where's the other one? I'm losing subscribers too. That's awesome. I love that. Why? I do not know. I believe they want to try to make me feel like, to discourage me, potentially. So if you can let your friends know, I suppose that would be nice. I don't really like to ask. Where the fuck is that? You guys all having your morning coffee or something? Okay, 30, is this it? 30 Farnham Road Gate. Let's try. I had some guy's name associated with it. Chris or something. And it was just a residential address. And I'm like, why is this coming back to that? Anyway, screwy. Sad Mafioso. Just joined in, but I'll have to catch it after. Look at me, personality type, no doubt. I circled. Has a meaning. I don't know. They came up. They're related to, if you keep going down rabbit holes. And I was like, who is this person? Who is that person? On that note, I heard that somebody quit over on the Discord, which made me unhappy because I don't like to lose people. I don't, equally, as you all well know, I don't like to censor people. Who the hell is messaging me at this time? Oh. What is this? Oh my. Okay. How can I get this to open up? Do. You know what? I want that sound effect. Like the really cool breaking news. What news? Or how what news is doing. Of when? We'll have a look at this and see what kind of stuff is getting pumped out now. I sleep there, by the way. Don't worry about it. Now, come on. What the fuck? No, don't play anything.
Would you believe a few
I don't want sound. Okay, now they've got an article on the same, I believe on the same thing that I had before. I'll read you the article. It seems to, yeah. Why doesn't it want to come up? Now we've got Alex Kress. Okay, that's the other person involved with 13 Hour podcast. Sarah Ritchie, so the two from the podcast, and Brian Hill. I don't know who Brian Hill is. Who is Brian Hill? Online writer, researcher, investigator. He did stuff with Paralympic Games. And he also, RCMP confirms many individuals had a number of disputes with gunmen. Oh, okay. So he's written articles, kind of seem a little pro RCMP. Nova Scotia RCMP Superintendent Garen Campbell confirmed there were individuals who had a number of disputes over a lengthy period of time with Gabriel Wortman, 51. Let's play that. This was his thing. I think we're going to get an ad.
Would you believe a few simple changes in your diet?
Why don't you just clamp it? Okay, now I can play it.
To the finer details of that, but I'll agree and confirm with you that there was certainly a fairly sizable amount of information that there were individuals who had a number of disputes with the gunman over a certain period of time. By the way. And it appears to be a lengthy period of time. That included everything from associates to business partners to family members. I can't really provide much detail right now. We're trying to understand that. Our investigators are trying to trace back to determine whether or not there was any motivation, but it just appears as if it was a completely senseless series of very violent acts, and we're trying to understand that as best as we can.
Okay, sorry, that's old. So that's from Brian Hill. So he's the other author on this article. RCMP theory of fuck off. Like I put that when Nova Scotia gunman, this gunman, God, you got to have it exactly right. They don't want it, eh? Escaped scene of, I'll have to put it all in probably, the first killings has changed. Okay, here we go. Now I get it. It didn't want to come up. You have to get the exact title, otherwise they're going to bury it. Okay, fair enough. We'll get it. Thank you for your patience. So this just came out this morning. So we've got a little bit more now. An unexpected revelation. Unexpected. Lucky he was at the gas station. A miracle. By the RCMP, she lost her coat in the woods because she didn't need it. About the early moments of a murderous shooting spree in Nova Scotia last April has prompted fresh criticism from families of the victims and their lawyers. Although police initially said the gunman fled the scene of the first killings about 9 minutes after the officers arrived in the rural community of Portapique on the evening of April 18th, they've now revised their description of events. How much investigating? I think that's the backhoe. Investigating. The RCMP told Global News in emails. Of course. This must be their response. Now, that's why we've got the article. Mary, how's it doing? How's it doing there? We're all doing our stuff. I found that YouTube has unsubscribed me and deleted at least 5 of my channels since. Oh yes, it is unbelievable. Lay, good morning. Good morning. In email, so this must be in reply. They finally did decide to get back because now they're starting to get in some more shit. And thank you, press, for, doing a half-assed job and holding their press, to the fire. I think that it's just because, again, who's saying this shit? Now they're just they use these platforms to start spinning their propaganda. They now believe the gunman escaped roughly 19 minutes after the first responding officers arrived on the scene. The emails were sent in response to with questions of the 13-part investigative podcast, okay, and that's the one we discussed earlier, launched by Global News on November 9th. A little late to the game, but thanks for coming out. 3 families whose relatives were killed in the shootings told Global News Police didn't tell them about the new information. A lawyer representing the families in a proposed class action suit also said she only learned the new details about what happened in Portapique from Global News. Oh my. Oh, that's not good. I don't know why some bumpkin in Alberta, seriously, can get 3 corroborating independent witnesses that go much later than 10:45. But they're at 10:45. I guess they'll be here sometime soon. Quote, "This is news, I think, for all of us," said John Farrington, whose parents, Don and Frank Galechkin, were killed in Portapique. I apologize, sir, if I mispronounced your family name. I really do. It makes no sense how something like this could happen with the police presence right around it. No, it doesn't, if we believe what they're saying. I wonder if he's got some more. Let's try and see what he shares.
You know, whether you know it's a good thing or a bad thing, just give us a timeline, give us, you know, some answers and stick with it, or maybe even don't release anything at all until you have your facts straight. Just say, hey guys, you know what, like, we can't give you any answers right now, but you know, when we do, we're going to give you an answer, and it's going to be the only answer you get. So I guess we're all just looking for clarity, but a simple, you know, phone call, no news, it's better than being silent. It makes us feel like, you know, you're not working on the case at all. At the end of the day, family's kind of the last ones to know, right? Like, if you guys already know, and, you know, publish this email to make it look like you're protecting us, but you're not protecting us. Everybody else knows, but the people that kind of should know first.
Wow. Well, that's even better. I'm going to have to record that one. I decided not to air. They like to snip it. They always snip. That one's a little bit more damning. Farrington's parents were among the 13 people killed in Portapique, where the gunman Gabriel Wortman owned a cottage and spent most of his time during the early weeks of the novel corona pandemic. I don't know how many people were seeing him down there, but we'll move along. The gunman would go on to kill 9 other people. 9 other people. Remember what I said way at the beginning? At the very, very bare, like right at the beginning, very bare minimum, they are civilly responsible for criminal negligence causing death for the 9 people. Bare minimum. Wasn't I was having a Karnak moment? No, because it's clear if he got out, and seriously, that's right at the beginning. If he got out, obviously you weren't doing your job, and 9 other people died. You know, Tara's in here, and I think Tara would agree, and it's sad, but probably, you know, there could be maybe nothing that could have been done, at least that evening, to have prevented what happened to her family. But could other lives have been saved? Absolutely. Instead of owning up to their criminal stuff in the background, which is all their investigation and their, I don't know quite what's going on there. I think I have some ideas, and I believe it either may involve witness protection program, or undercover, which is what I originally said was undercover. And it could be kind of a combination even of the two. But rather than owning up to that and saying, this is what we did, and we probably really fucked up here badly. We're playing these funny games in the background. We don't want anybody to know about it. Shh, shh. And we're going to use the Tweeties. We're going to try and bury everything. Please don't use his name. We'll just keep writing scripts as we go. We'll keep fucking up everything. We'll continually re-traumatize families. We'll just keep doing this over and over until people go away, rather than just owning up. I hope I'm not talking out of line, Tara, but I believe you and I have spoken about that before. Now, hopefully you can back me up on that. Portapique, 13-hour streak, burning multiple homes and vehicles to the ground in such a short span of time. Meanwhile, court documents reveal that the man told the officers who first arrived on the scene, Portapique in 1026, we all know the name. That kind of person, I'm not going to use that name. On April 18th, the neighbor was named Gabe, had shot at him. The witness had also told the gunman was driving what looked to be a real police car, police vehicle, that he'd just lit the Galitschins house on fire. Again, my apologies to their family if I've mispronounced her name. I'm terrible with pronunciation. Another eyewitness who lives near Portapique and was in the area on the night of the shootings told Global News that the police did not block off the highway the gunman used to escape until after 10:45. Now, they said that there were two roadblocks. Somewhere I've got that in my files. Two perimeters, they said. Sorry, 2 perimeters that were set up. The 2 perimeter part never seems to get out. What is the police location? No, the police location was here. Oh wait, no, that's right. Sorry, my apologies. My apologies. That is correct. Is it? I can't tell. My eyes. Laurie George said he saw the fires first burning from his backyard and went to investigate, driving past the intersection on Highway 2 and Portapique Beach Road. He saw RCMP vehicles, but he said he was not stopped by police initially. George took photos of the... this is going to be good. George took photos of the fire burning at what appears to be the gunman's cottage, based on the location and proximity to the water. The photos are time-stamped. Probably not like that kind of time-stamp. You know, the fail time-stamp, the lying time-stamp. No. You mean a real, like a telling the truth person timestamp? Not bullshit timestamps? Roughly 14 minutes after police arrived on the scene. So then when the police or the RCMP are confronted with the 1040 number, well, we'll just move it back to 1045. Do you see what's going on here? This is sick. Morning, Dave. Morning, Dave. Yes, Marshall owns the cigar hut. But Lloyd has nothing to do with it. I don't know how he even came into the picture. He wasn't even there. Come on, man. Interview people that were there. Let's not push garbage. Sorry, back on topic. George then drove back to his home about 5 minutes away and picked up his wife, he said. They then returned to the scene of the fires, but this time the police turned them away near the turnoff at Portapique Beach Road. Okay, so it looks like he's taking the picture from 5 Houses Road, if I'm getting the name right. That's across the river, I believe, the Portapique River. Now, we have a time when his house is on fire. So this is going to help. And that it sounds like he was trying to go down Portapique Beach Road at 10:45, but maybe he was able to go down there earlier, and police didn't say anything. They were there, but they didn't say anything. Global News asked the RCMP at what time they set up a roadblock at Highway 2. The RCMP did not respond to this question. It's all about coffee. Love the coffee. RCMP had previously said that they set up a, quote, 4 square kilometer perimeter, the surrounding area of Portapique, where the killings occurred. Police have not said exactly when and where these perimeters were established. Now they're saying perimeters, and that follows suit. I can probably dig through my stuff and find the perimeters, but we'll move along for now. As Global News previously reported, the RCMP's only Atlantic-based helicopter was undergoing routine maintenance the weekend of the shootings, and therefore was unable to assist in the manhunt. Well, we know that not to be, at least in the sense that they had access to helicopters. They used helicopters. There was the CBC interview right away from somebody who lives across the river who said that they saw and heard helicopters in the morning. So, and Clinton said it. Clinton said they were flying overhead. So what's going on here? Do you either have the helicopters or you do not? And I think I'm going to go with the people who say that there were helicopters there. Because somebody tells the truth and somebody does not. RCMP do not. Although the RCMP initially told reporters it requested air support as part of its response to the incident, it didn't call on 2 nearby Air Force bases, which have helicopters capable of nighttime searches and rescue missions. The RCMP have told Global News they were eventually able to secure a helicopter owned by Nova Scotia Department of Lands Forestry to assist with the search. When? I want a time. Stop with this nonsense about, well, we eventually got something. Sometime we had a perimeter, maybe somewhere with an unknown something. It was taken from Bayshore Road. Okay. That's across the river. Is that correct? Bayshore Road. Oh, doesn't it have a nickname? I'm learning all this stuff. RCMP expert criticizes, I don't necessarily, unless you guys want to hear that, the experts, I find their experts to be cherry-picked people. Like Jessica Davis. CSIS. Victims' family members have identified this as a key failing of RCMP's response to the shootings as proposed class action lawsuit filed against Force and the province. Not good. Family lawyers have also criticized RCMP for not providing timely and meaningful updates. That would be like this. We know that there's a warrant going to be released. How do you know that it's going to be released? Has the ruling been made? Was it made ahead of time? I guess so. You knew a week in advance, but you have no idea what's in it. That seems kind of, can't have it both ways. And we'll let you know so you hear about it first before you hear about it from the media. But they always say this. And it's like the interview said before. 2 interviews, right? I apologize, is it Mr. Farrington? And Mr. Bond. And Tara's in here, and I believe she could attest to that as well. They do not inform families, and I know other family members who have said they absolutely do not say anything to anybody. It's just a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors. And the problem is getting through that mental block that we all have, which believes that the RCMP are going to help us. They are there to serve us. They are our employees. And of course, nobody would do anything wrong. The fact of the matter is these people are actively and have been from the beginning and before then working against you. No, that's tinfoil. Really? I think the evidence speaks for itself. Perhaps my predictions on some of this wasn't wrong. The family's lawyers, I quote, I think it has to raise some red flags about the response, said the family's lawyer, Sandra McCulloch. Now, that's really hedging, but she is a lawyer, so you have to be careful. But I won't be. Quote, obviously having twice as much time to assess the situation and make response to the situation, to respond to the situation, it can't but give rise to concerns what was done or not done that night. Global News asked RCMP when and why the description of how, let's archive this, please, by the way, also. I don't want them deleting and changing. They've already changed it, looks like, once. Global News asked the RCMP, when and why their description of how Wortman escaped Portapique has changed. The RCMP did not answer these questions. Once again, are they being informative? Maybe they'll send out an email. The RCMP also declined a request to be interviewed for the story. Who are these people? They're our employees. They do not know their place. Very, very misbehaved child. Wow. Somebody needs to give them a big spanking. Big spanking. Because they got an ego that thinks that they're running the household. Ain't happening. Not happening. It's not unusual for police or witnesses to provide conflicting descriptions of events during ongoing criminal investigation. Whose side are you on? This thing is rife with it. It is not unusual. That's true. With certain details here and there, but the general story stays the same. You don't have 5 people coming down from a UFO robbing a bank when it was one midget who did it. No. In this case, it wouldn't even be robbing a bank. It would be, I don't know, committing check fraud. It's so far off base. In this case, it isn't clear whether police spoke to any Yes, you see, this is it. Whether police spoke to any witnesses who changed their description of event. I think this part, whether they even spoke to anybody, Remember how they were saying the 400 people, blah, blah, blah? That was a load. I think we showed that in a video. It said they had 400 items that they wished to discuss. Not people. They didn't speak to lots of people. I know lots of people who have seen stuff, and they didn't ever fucking speak to them. Some people, funnily enough, who had to call them up. Oh, really? What? Huh? The police should provide more info. Really? Really? Farrington said what's most upsetting about the new information about when the gunman might have escaped Portapique is that he learned about it from who? The media. Sound like, where was it? Harry? Sound like Tara? Sound like innumerable other family members that I've spoken with that, you know, I don't want to name, but no, nobody I've spoken to has said to me, you know what, the RCMP has been very forthcoming and they've provided me a lot of details and I feel satisfied with their job. That would be why every single family has registered a lawsuit against the RCMP. To the best of my knowledge. All of them. There's no inconsistency there. RCMP inconsistency? Oh, not inconsistency. Major fucking lying? Yeah. Family consistency? Pretty good. Pretty good. Win. Because some people are honest and some aren't. The Echo's comments made by other victims' family members who said they feel like they're being kept in the dark and that the RCMP isn't doing enough to keep them informed of the ongoing investigation. It's almost like this article was written while I was doing the stream, playing Harry's interview. I don't know. No, just teasing. But seriously, there it is. You see? You see? I'm doing this real time, live. You know I'm not bullshitting with you. I never seen this article. It was just sent to me. And I should send them a thank you, by the way. Anyway, I'll send them a thank you. Hopefully, I'll remember. But you know who you are. If you guys already know, and the public already knows, why not the families? Farrington said. Well, why don't we listen to Harry again? I think it's good. Harry lays it down. Oh, balls. I don't want to know about your military. You can take your military and stuff it. More of the same lying garbage institutions. Go away. Can we move on?
There's a lot of stuff that's been brought out in just media. I mean, we hear from you, and it's hurtful. You don't know what to believe when you watch them on the news they have 4 or 5 different interviews at different times, and every interview they have, their words are different. They're stabbing themselves in the back, two-facing themselves. You wonder what the hell it is they're hiding and what they're not telling, because everybody can see it. If you're telling the truth, your story's not going to change. Their stories do change, so they're lying. You watch their body language, you can tell they're lying. It's not right.
Oh, how true. How true. And excellent point, Lorraine. Remembrance. What a perfect day. Remembrance Day. Remembering. Farrington said he knows the job of police are tasked to do is a difficult one, but he expected police would have done more to communicate with the families about important developments in the investigation. What investigation is my question? What investigation? I thought he's dead. He acted alone. What investigation? You want to go after gun dealers some other day? Do it. You've got lots of families who are really upset and going through all kinds of stuff. And I'm sorry, I missed Odeer is in here. Good morning, Odeer. Hopefully everybody, you're doing well. Odeer is wonderful. You guys all know Odeer's channel. Please go over and subscribe to, not unsubscribe, subscribe to her channel. Absolutely great work. More concise and better to digest than my garbage. Sad cleanup crew covering their real interests. Absolutely, Mark. Absolutely. Quote, a simple phone call like, guys, how's it going? No news. It's better than just being silent. It makes us feel like, you know, you're not working on the case at all. It like that literally breaks my heart. Because I think it's beginning to seep in with some families. Some are already astutely aware of that. And I'm not saying that Mr. Farrington isn't aware of that. Maybe he's just being very tactful. Could be. But I definitely know that there's a lot of people who think, well, you know, these are just mistakes, or no, this is something else grossly, very extraordinarily malicious, evil behavior. Evil. And it's hard to accept that one. But how does it feel as a family member to know that the people that you pay money to aren't doing their job? Why? We know that there's a good reason for it, right? Daryl Davies, criminology instructor at Carleton University, said there's unlikely there's anything the RCMP. Okay, I'm not even gonna. Sorry. I mean, you can research probably who Daryl Davies is, and he's going to come up in other things, I would think. Maybe he's related to Jessica Davis. Quote, because of a few officers there in Portapique, I don't think that they had a snowball's chance. Okay, yeah, moving along. Still, he said he's concerned about other aspects of the police response, including the RCMP's decision not to give the province's emergency alert to warn the public about the danger. I mean, we haven't even talked about that. What the fuck, man? Really? So, you know, it's like they're like, no, there's nothing really here, but, well, you maybe have something. Just to make you feel like you're not totally crazy. When in reality, it is, no, all bad. Pretty much all bad. And previously to the 18th. Oh my, that's going to be a problem. Quote, the RCMP have failed in the last decade to bring about the kinds of changes that we need in Canada for this National Police Service to respond to these kinds of crises, Davies said. Again, I don't advocate, I don't think anybody here advocates for the abolition of a police force. Like, do we want to have this defund stuff and complete anarchy? No. Are there great members in the RCMP? Absolutely. Is there utter political trash running the top of that who is acting way out of control, investigates Trudeau and he gets away, investigates any of these politicians because they're all playing basically for the same team. They're the ones that do it. No problem here. Cameron Ortis selling out all of the Five Eyes secrets. Excuse me? Oh, that's right, because he's drinking buddies with Bob Paulson. Bob Paulson, whose wife helped out on the pipeline. Oh, she's a piece of work, isn't she? Bob Paulson, who was kicked out of the military, former commissioner of the RCMP, kicked out of the military, lied in his RCMP interview, in his own words. Fucking fantastic interview if you haven't ever heard that one. Oh my God. He's like, oh, thanks for giving me a chance, because I was repeatedly getting in trouble in the in the Air Force until they kicked me out. Basically, what would have amounted to criminal charges in the civilian population. So then I went to the RCMP and I lied to them in my interview, and they found out about it. But thanks for giving me a chance. Well, what happened to all the other chances you were given, you dingbat? Fucking retards. During a June 4th press conference, oh yeah, yes, that's do you remember? Bergerman? Where's the microphone? You can't hear me. It's way over here. The only one who appears, the one, what is it? That's the second or third appearance she's made through this whole process, the head of the Nova Scotia RCMP. Bergerman, former head of CFSEU, Ontario. CFSEU, Biker Squad. RCMP Chief Superintendent. The Chief what? No. Chief nothing. Chief this. Oh, what am I doing here? What am I doing? I'm shitting my pants. Said investigators would provide, quote, timely and accurate updates in the coming days and weeks. Yeah. How many times? Timely. That was the last press conference the RCMP held to discuss the Nova Scotia shooting, and the last time investigators faced questions from the media in a public setting. Well, that was the media that they hadn't already kicked out or shut down. And Derp Lady, oh, we're done here. No, we're done. We're done. We're done. The child running the household. No, we're not done. You stay here until I say you can go home. How about that? Get your priorities. Understand who the fuck is in charge here. Not you. These people are out of control. In July, the federal government, after fucking around and trying to find some way so that they could lie and have no witnesses and no testimony, compulsory testimony, and also decide what was released, and also throw in a feminist spin, which was complete bullshit, based on what? A person who never saw anything! Anything! Please. Brenda Forbes saw a zipola. A zip. Zero. She was upstairs with the flu. She came downstairs and she said, he dragged her out of there. That was her extent. And he stared at her. I think, frankly, probably what it was, I have a sneaking suspicion. Obviously, I don't want to be issuing false allegations, But I have a sneaking suspicion Brenda was turned down by Mr. Wortman. He wanted nothing to do with her. She wanted something to do with him. And Gabe said no. Then she started circulating rumors. Well, he's cheating on you all the time. He's cheating on you all the time. And he started to get pretty angry about it. Not justifying this man's horrendous actions. But if you never saw anything, why do you have such a gigantic axe to grind? He wanted it in his pants. I think that's probably true. She did with her big... Certainly doesn't look like that, by the way. She must have had surgery. It's not the same person, I don't think. In July, announced that there would be a public inquiry into the shooting. What about the other crash before that? What happened before that? Oh, yes, the review, the carefully crafted hiding in a closet review. And then they wanted to just move the review over to the public inquiry with the feminist spin, which is based on what? Based on what? Sorry, what? That's right, because you know that was all women that were dying in that, right? There's another logical fallacy. Oh, it's femicide. Really? It's only slightly above. I'm sorry, I'm dropping my lighter here. It's only slightly above the statistical difference between male population and female population, 51, 49%. Not too big of a division. Fuck off. Into the shootings and RCMP response into the tragedy, reversing an earlier decision. The inquiry will look into a wide range of issues related to the killing spree, including the RCMP's immediate response, forced its decision not to use the emergency alert system to warn the public, and the way its officers communicated with the families. I think you really, really better look at the who's on there. Oh yeah, that's Fitch. Is Fitch clean? Oh no, not really. What about the third one? Ooh, she's good, eh? She's a great lawyer. She doesn't have any agenda working for Leaf formally. No, not at all. Not a feminist. No. Don't look here. It's a sham. The inquiry will look... Yes, okay, sorry. The inquiry must deliver its interim report by May 21st, 2022. Well, that's provided that, maybe COVID doesn't drag it out and all kinds of other funny things happen. The dog ate my homework. Followed by a final report due 6 months later. Wow. So now we're going to give them how long to write a story that fits? I mean, they have to constantly keep changing it as it is. I think we just need to keep saving up our stuff. And then maybe just drop it in there. What was it? I can't remember the amicus curiae. Anybody know law? Amicus curiae? Friend of the court. I'll have to look into the amicus curiae component. Maybe we can sit at that table. Maybe. Amicus curiae, very interesting. Not really a Canadian aspect, but you can still do it here. The inquiry must deliver an interim report, okay? May 2022, followed by 6 months later. The reports will be delivered to the federal and Nova Scotia governments, for those where's my Sharpie? Fuck. I guess the RCMP bought them all. I don't have any now. Which will then decide when to release them. Oh, good. Oh, good. Good. So by the end of 2022, maybe they might have something done, maybe, but then it's got to go to the federal government, and then they're going to decide what to use the Sharpie on and when they're going to release it, if they release it. Are we getting it here? This is just, and why is this press going along with this? Either they're not being very good journalists, they are controlled, which I would say is the truth, is that option, or they're completely incompetent and should be scrubbing toilets with the RCMP. Because honestly, you don't have to be a rocket scientist here. The RCMP have also said that they have assigned a family liaison officer. Oh, yes. Something to do with peanut butter. Peanut butter? How are you doing there? Let's see, actually. I wonder if I can find that video. I think I might close it out with that. Which will work with the victims' families to keep them updated on developments of the ongoing investigation. Tara, are you still here? Are you still in here, Tara? Perhaps you could share with us if you are, or if there's another family member who feels like they might want to speak. Whether you feel as though the peanut butter individual has been, aside from being a nice guy, has really shared a lot with you and been helpful. As in, I'll get you those answers because it's really important. So I'm going to get them now. This officer, Peanut Butter, was assigned as part of the RCMP's critical incidents response immediately after the shooting spree. The RCMP said the family liaison provides information to victims' families before it goes to the media. Okay, so once again, we'll just have a look at Peanut Butter's response. He actually is so formal and professional about his job, he goes by Peanut Butter. Because there he is. I know I can call, well, I don't work. As in, it's not because I don't, I'm on welfare or anything. Never taken a dime from this government. There would. Pay. That's what I do. Now, where was that video? Where did I put that? I can find it probably. Oh, screw off. All of a sudden the chat froze. Did it freeze? Media paid off by Trudeau. They're paid off by all of them, man. It's just a sham. They like you to pick on people and then, oh, we can change it. We'll vote over here. We'll make that difference. Whatever, man. It's just all a scam. Let's see. Sure I have that video in that folder. We'll see. It's not impossible, I suppose. I would love to see it replicated. I would love to see some of these things, because they can replicate some of these things, right? And frankly, I think that would be an excellent use of taxpayer dollars. You can go and build a frame house and, let's burn it up in the middle of the night. Let's see. Don't think it would work. It doesn't logically add up to do. I don't care. You move it back 10 minutes. Plus, like I said, I know independent witnesses who have a time frame that's much longer than 10 minutes. Much longer. Independent. Verified. Okay, I'm not finding it. Now, let's see if I can find it on YouTube. Maybe I can. Oh no, where is it? Where is it? Did they delete it? That would be poor. Skipper and Co. My apologies. Skipper and Company. Police. Get out of here. I'm going to build this into my intro, I think, at one point. Here we go. Skipper and Co. All right, let's try not to bash on people. Unfortunately, lost somebody on the who was, I hope they're watching this. They have my phone number, I think. I do hope that they'll reach out to me. I understand what all. I don't. It all kind of went down. I don't like kicking people off. Now let's go ahead and watch this. We'll close it out with that. And thanks very much for joining me. Skipper and Company visit the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary. I think this is good. That's good. Thanks very much for joining me. And God bless.
How you doing, boys and girls? Well, if you remember from last week, I received a phone call from Corky, and I thought he had been arrested in St. John's.
Well, I wasn't arrested at all. I was over there working for today.
Down at the police station?
Yeah.
Well, I went into St. John's, and while I was there, Lieutenant Gary Brown gave me a tour of the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, and I found out about fingerprint taking, and I took a look at the communication center. Well, today, we're even in for more fun. I get to go for a ride in a patrol car, and I get to see what happens in a real police lineup, and I talked to Lieutenant Gary Brown, and I find out how you become a police officer and some of the things that a police officer has to do. That's coming up today, right here on Skipper and Company. Stay tuned.
I don't like necessarily the introduction of the rainbow here, but gosh, it just going back in yesteryear, Canada, the world was a very different place. It's funny sometimes to go back in time when shit wasn't melting down everywhere.
Skipper, this is Constable Connie Snow of the Assault Section of the Criminal Investigation Division.
Well, very nice to meet you. You're a constable?
Yes, I am.
Well, I can tell you have a very arresting personality. I can see that. Oh, Gary, thank you very much. And you're going to leave me here now in the lineup, and I'm going to see you a little later on?
Yes, you're in good hands now.
All right, Gary. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. You know, I've been seeing so many things, Connie, around the police department, and the lineup room and all of that, that must be an important part of a police procedure, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is. Police officers, investigators in particular, have a responsibility for two things initially, and that is to find out if a crime has been committed. Then we have to find out who committed the crime. The lineup.
Gosh, the RCMP could really take a lesson from this one. You find out who committed the crime, and you do the investigation. Real tough.
Room plays a very important part in helping us sometimes find out who committed the crime, in that we bring in people, suspects, and put them in with other people up here on the platform, and then we have our witness go in behind the one-way mirror here, and we have them look at these suspects through the glass, and they will point out anyone who may have been involved. They may have witnessed in a crime, or the person who committed the crime. And this is very helpful to us.
So you have to find people, I guess, more or less the same size and the same weight and that sort of thing.
Well, yes.
You see, you have to interview witnesses, though. You have to do that. Oh, I think RCMP should get a tape of this. Perhaps Peanut Butter can. Take it.
That's very important. You have to have people who are about the same size, about the same height. For instance, we couldn't have a person standing there who has a beard like yourself and then 7 or 8 other people not having a beard. That would be very obvious then if you were the person who committed the crime, for instance.
That's a good point right there. That's a good point. Is it possible to ever see a lineup take place?
Sure, we could conduct a lineup this morning for you on a small scale, I guess. I don't know if we'll round up 7 or 8 people that we'd need for a lineup. But
You mean right now we could do it?
Sure, we could.
Oh, that's good. Well, I'll go this way. Okay. Fine. You're going to set up a real lineup? Oh, this is going to be terrific. Oh, so that's... Now, we're looking through the two-way mirror from here.
That's correct. The one that we were in the room before, and I showed you the one-way glass. But we're on the other side of that right now.
Okay, well, that's good. So they can't see me, and we're safe up here.
No, when the suspects are brought into the room now shortly, they will not be able to see you. The lights in that room are very bright, and plus the fact that this is a one-way glass, they cannot see you. So just take a careful look at each one, which is the usual procedure, and make a selection if you see the person responsible.
All right, here they come now. All right, now, Constable Snow, you want me to take a close look at these suspects and find out which one's been stealing some of my jokes?
Yes, Skipper, that's right.
Okay. Let's have a look at this fellow. No, not him. No, don't think it's him either. No. Oh, wait a second. I recognize that Beagle Beak. Oh, is that you?
I fooled you, Skipper. How'd you going for a second?
Yeah, you're having a lot of fun down here this morning, aren't you?
Sure am.
Well, I can see what you mean by finding it difficult to get the people all the right size and the shape to match up, with the lineup.
Yes, it's particularly hard to find 7 or 8 people who look and sound like Corky.
Well, I'm glad this is just a simulation, and he's not in a real lineup, because I know you just did this for my benefit to show me what goes on.
That's right.
Connie Snow, thank you very much for showing me what happens in a lineup, and I hope I'm never in one and I don't have to see you again.
I hope not. Not under these circumstances. Thank you.
Well, Lieutenant Brown's waiting for me, so I'll get underway. Thanks again, Constable.
Okay, bye.
For now. Wait a second. Oh, my thunder, real patrol car. You must be Constable Robert Escott, is that right?
That's true, sir.
That's not a real patrol car. That's Wortman's car. What are you talking about? Everybody has fake cars.
How do you do? I'm Skipper, and Lieutenant Gary Brown said you're the fellow that's going to drive me around.
That's correct, Skipper.
All right, Robert, what do I have to do?
Just jump in, Skipper.
Just jump in? Don Johnson, eat your heart out. Oh, boy, flashing lights, a real patrol car. All right, officer, take her away. You know, Constable Escott, you must have an awful lot of responsibilities being an officer in a patrol car like this.
Yes, sir, there are. An awful lot of responsibilities.
What sort of things you got to look out for most of all?
Well, a lot of it is looking after the motorists. You have to make sure that they are upholding the law. You're checking people walking, pedestrians, school kids especially this time of the day. And you're answering a lot of complaints. All the complaints that come into the police department are answered by the street patrol, which is what I am a member of. We are the first officers on the scene of any particular complaint.
You know, I can't help but think that boys and girls, of course, you know, drive in the cars with their parents, but a lot of youngsters are on skateboards these days and bicycles. And what should they do if they hear a siren approaching?
The first thing that one should do when they hear a siren or see the lights of a patrol vehicle or any emergency vehicle is to get completely off the road safely. The thing is, the lights, the emergency lights or a siren, are not operated on an emergency vehicle unless it is an emergency. And when that takes place, we need as much room as we can possibly get.
Are people having problems with the chat? It does seem to go kind of slow. I don't know if other people are having issues or wouldn't surprise me.
So boys and girls can really help if they get out of the way as soon as possible.
They sure could, Skipper.
Now, another thing, too, you know, in this day and age, buckling up and seatbelts is a very important thing for children to know if they're in anybody's car.
That's true also, Skipper. Seatbelts do save a lot of lives. It's the law now in Newfoundland and practically all across the country to have people, not just kids, but all people, buckle up in seatbelts. Smaller kids, infants, they're required to be in car seats, and they do save lives. Kids should be buckled up in the rear seat.
All right, now, too, we were talking once about youngsters being left alone in the cars. Does this create any problems for you fellows?
This creates great problems, Skipper. The thing being that a parked vehicle, especially, whether it's running or not, we've had a few incidents recently, actually, where the vehicles have been knocked out of gear and they've rolled into parked vehicles, and they could possibly run into some pedestrians, and sooner or later somebody's going to be killed by an innocent child in a vehicle just because it was left unattended.
So it's against the law to have a child left in a car unattended?
It is against the law. And in the event that the vehicle's left running, it's very easy for a child to get asphyxiated and be overcome by carbon monoxide poisoning, and that means sudden death.
Also heat frustration sometimes in the summertime?
Definitely, Skipper.
Well, you have an interesting job indeed. Robert, any chance of us perhaps trying to catch a speeder this morning?
Yes, sir. No trouble at all.
We'll give it a try?
We'll give it a try.
Okay.
Police people, I remember that. Police people used to use that language. Sir and ma'am. You know, the respect. There was a very different atmosphere. Same thing with the cars. I did a video about that a few years ago about how it used to say serve and protect, and then they changed them. And it's like bravery, courage. It has to do with themselves. It has nothing to do with their community. I found that always so interesting.
So this is it, Robert? We just sort of stay parked here like this. You pick out a location and you set yourself up for radar?
Yes, sir. That's all there is to it, Skipper.
Now, this looks a little bit intricate. Can you show me some of this radar stuff here? How that... Now, that's a whole new gizmo to me. I don't know what that is at all.
This is a little computer, Skipper, is what this is.
A computer?
It sends out a signal, and the difference between how fast it goes out and how fast it comes back is how you tell, or how it tells how the speed of the oncoming or the going vehicle is.
So it really doesn't matter if somebody's going in your direction or coming in the opposite direction. You can still tell if they're speeding.
Yes, sir. And not only that, we don't always have to be parked like we are right now. We can do it while we're driving. We can get them coming towards us. We can get them going away from us, whether they be going faster or slower. It doesn't matter. We can always tell what your speed is.
Of course, people shouldn't be speeding anyway, but people sometimes are afraid they're late for work or they're late for school or something, and they get to do something dangerous, and speeding is very dangerous, isn't it?
And every person you stop has always got a good excuse.
Ain't it the truth?
They've always got excuses, but they're never good enough.
All right. Now, we just sit here now. We're going to wait for a speeder. Is that what we have to do now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, let's see who we get. Okay, Constable, does that mean we got a speeder?
That means exactly that, Skipper. We've got a speeder.
All right, let's go. He certainly is moving, isn't he?
Is he ever? We'll catch him soon.
There he goes. Okay. All right, he's pulled over. Now then, Constable, you've got the speeder pulled over the side of the road. What happens now?
Now then, Skipper, I'll go up and ask him for his driver's license, registration, and vehicle insurance. Make sure everything is all legal. Find out if he's after been drinking before he got behind the wheel of the car. And, of course, I'm going to have to issue him a ticket for speeding.
Well, I'm certainly glad that this is just all an enactment by your department here, and the children know that we're not really doing this, you know, and it isn't really a real speeder out there. But that's what happens when a real speeder is pulled over to the side of the road.
That's exactly what happened, Skipper.
Okay, so they have to have all their papers with them at all times. And
well, all those things are required by an operator of a vehicle. They have to have them at all times, and that's it. That's the law.
Well, Constable Escott, I got to tell you, this has been a learning experience for me, and I'm going to make sure that I remind the children and their parents not to speed. That's for certain. What do you say we better head back to the station house? I hate to leave Corky back there on his own. Who knows what might happen?
They might have him locked up by now, Skipper.
All right, let's head back. Dum-da-dum-dum-dum. Well, you know, Gary, I gotta admit, boy, I never thought there'd be so much to see and so much to do in a police department. There's a lot. You fellas have to know an awful lot of things, don't you?
There are a lot of things to see and do in the police department, yes.
Gary, how does a young man go about joining the police department in this day and age?
Well, not only the young man, Skipper, it's a young female also.
Oh, of course, that's right. That's so it is.
So you have to be finished high school and 19 years of age, and you put in an application, and we advertise each year. And then this year alone, to give you an example, there was approximately 2,000 applications for 15 positions with the force. And I'm the officer in charge of police recruiting. So the people put in the advertisement, they then have to, first stage is to write a written examination. And then those who pass the written examination go on to the next part of the process, which is a physical fitness exam. And after the physical fitness examination, you then have to go on, those who pass, to an interview. And after the interview...
Physical fitness? You mean like, what was it she said? Give me an example of racism. Yes. Commissioner Lucky's response. Oh, yes, we have a 6-foot map, and you have to be able to jump over it, but not all of us are 6 feet. So that's racist. Response? That's not racism. Could you please give me an example of racism? Oh, I'll defer to my colleague who knows more about that. Derp.
The candidates are basically tabulated in a sort of a scoring fashion, and then from there, the top 15 are chosen. It's a very hard process, and we travel all over Newfoundland and Labrador, the recruiting team, doing this.
And then once they're finally accepted, then they've got to start learning all of these things I've been looking at today.
Then their work only starts when they're accepted. Ours is finished as far as the recruit is concerned. That's correct. And they have to do training at the Atlantic Police Academy for 52 weeks now.
You know, Gary, I know you're talking a lot about joining and crime, techniques, but you also work on a lot of crime prevention. Isn't that true?
Yes, crime prevention is a very important aspect of policing for all our police officers, Skipper, in the sense of, what's causing the crime? Why are young people or why are certain people doing armed robberies and things like that? So we look at the preventative aspect. And there's a special unit called the Crime Prevention Unit who focus on the whys and wherefores of crime. And we go into the community and we work very closely with the community in doing crime prevention. But again, just to tell you about how the police role has changed over the years and some of the things that you've seen, we could take a young police officer now just from his car and say, look, you have to go down to Holy Heart School at 2 o'clock and give a lecture on sexual assault to 2,000 students. So you can see how the role has changed, and all these things are necessary, Skipper, in becoming a police officer today.
Now, you also have things, too, that are worthwhile, and I guess they exist in big centers all across the country, either to one form or another. That's things like block parents and neighborhood watch. How do they sort of work?
They're all very important, especially for our young children watching your program today, Skipper. The Block Parent is probably one of the finest programs. It tells children that this home that you see the familiar Block Parent sign in has been okayed by the police department, and the people inside are good people. And if you do indeed get in trouble, now we mean trouble. We don't mean going in for a drink of water or something like this, because it's not fair. But if you're in serious trouble, maybe feeling sick or a dog bite or something like that, or someone is threatening you or going to beat you up. But not only for the young people, but we also use the Block Parent homes for our senior citizens, because it also tells them the same thing. So there are many programs like that. Neighborhood Watch, again, it's the whole community working together, Skipper. It's not just our job as police officers to do policing. The whole community must get involved, because it is where you and I live and our young children who are watching. So in order to make a better community, we all have to play a role together and work together.
I guess that's what makes it work all right. Now, there's also things, too, that they have identification programs that you can tell people about, or they can phone the local stations wherever they are across the country, and there's things that they can do to help protect their homes this way as well.
Yes, and that's for sure. And another great program for our young listeners watching Skipper today is the Operation Identification for your bicycles. Because bicycles today, as a father of 3, they're very expensive. $200 or $300, no problem. And the kids, we often have bikes brought in, Skipper, they can't identify them, so they won't be able to get them back. It looks like their bike. So it's very important for the young people listening today if they would make sure that their bicycle has an operation identification number on it, and it can only be their bike. So if it is stolen, they can come at the police headquarters, no matter where they live, and pick up their bikes. And mom and dad will be very happy, because they don't have to pay out that extra money, and the insurance companies will be happy, and everybody's happy.
Gary, I'm going to ask you one final thing I'd like to know now. Youngsters are here and there after school and all times of day, and sometimes they might see what they think is a crime being committed. And little children might be a little scared of that and not know what to do. What should they do?
The most important thing to do is, especially for young children, we don't want them to get involved. It's our job, the police department. Go to someone's house, someone they respect, or a teacher or a friend or mom or dad.
Or a block parent.
Or a block parent, and tell them what they saw, and they will call the police. But we don't want to get our young people involved. But we do say to them, be very, noticing things and that you see going wrong in your community. So it's important for them to help us. But the best way for help us is be alert and don't get caught in places where they shouldn't be.
Well, that's a good idea. There's so many things in this world and so much safety that children have to think about. We hear about latchkey children. Children are home after school, alone, and this sort of thing. Is there anything you could give them advice on there? Just
the main thing I can say in all aspects of child safety, Skipper, is just to be careful and to avoid situations. And if you're told to do something by your parents, there's a reason for it, and follow their orders. It's very important to know the numbers of your police departments, fire departments, poison control. Have those numbers near your telephone, so if something does happen when you're home by yourself, you can quickly dial and say, look, police, please come, and who you are and things like that. It's important. But be safe, and it's a good time, and young people got to enjoy themselves. And the police department want our young people to have lots of fun, and we're not trying to make it a hard place for them to grow up, but just be safe, be wise.
Well, I'm looking at you, and you look like you're a fine specimen of an officer. I'm going to ask you a question. Why did you decide, personally, for you to become a police officer? Can you remember back?
Yes, I can remember back, and I think I have a little bit of an edge. My dad was a member of the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary and retired, so I grew up in the police family. My uncle was one also. So I know how the police profession runs, and I'm very proud to be a member. And maybe someday one of my boys may decide to put on the badge and uniform and serve the public.
So you're keeping up the family tradition?
Yes, I'm trying.
Now, Gary, there's a identification tag program for children with clothing. It's something I don't know all that much about that. Are you familiar with that one?
Yes, it's an identification tag that can be put on children's clothing, on their shirts and on their pants. And what it's used for, Skipper, is once the parents sew it on, no matter how many washes, the name will stay on it. And then if a child is knocked down, involved in an accident of some sort, or violently sick, a person, a police officer, whoever in the hospital can check and phone the parents immediately and get a quick medical history or whatever. It's a very good program, and it doesn't cost the parents anything, and you can pick them up at your local police departments right across the country. And I think it's an excellent idea. And again, it's just another small safeguard for protecting our most precious resource, our young people.
You said it right. We all love our children so much, wherever they happen to be, and we've been giving them a lot of advice. I wonder, Gary, is there anything that we should ask of the parents, and maybe we could pass on a suggestion or two to them?
Yes, it is important. Probably one of the main things, Skipper, is for the parents to know where their children are at all times, and also to have good communications with them. It's important that if a child has something to say to mom or dad or whoever, that they be upfront with them. If they're trying some things that aren't right, talk about it. Don't try and put it out of your mind, or don't try and just scold them because of it. It's good for both sides. The young people have to talk to their parents and people who they respect also. But the parents must keep a good line of communication open at all times, and then you can deal with things one-on-one. It's very important for the parents to be open, and vice versa, the children with their parents.
And children always try to be good, and if you give them a chance, I think they always will.
They are the most honest people in the world, a child. I'll tell you, once you're asked, you're going to get the answer, whether you like it or not.
You know, speaking about childish and childish behavior, I was wondering where... Oh, there he is. There's Corky. I was just wondering where he was going, because we got to get back to Rainbow Point. I got some youngsters coming over to rehearse.
How you doing, fellas?
Corky, you finished up?
Oh, yeah, I got everything all cleaned up, ship shape, Skipper, and I really appreciate the day's work down here, Lieutenant. Boy, thanks. I just windows, too,
You're more than welcome. It was good to have you, Corky. You can come anytime.
Thank you very much.
Actually, I owe him a vote of thanks, too. If it wasn't for him and me thinking he was under arrest, I would have missed all this. So, my thanks also.
So pleased to have you, and welcome, and take your time back to your Rainbow Point, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, we got to get back. This kid's coming over to the lighthouse to rehearse. Lieutenant Gary Brown, it's been a pleasure. See you later on.
Thanks very much. See you.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, Corky, off we go. So long. Bye-bye. Boy, when I got that phone call from you, and you told me you were at the police station, I thought you were under arrest.
Oh, gee, I'm sorry to frighten you like that, Skipper.
Well, we had a good time.
Oh, yeah, you saw the building and everything. I mean, that's someplace.
Anyway, I want to make sure we get back because the kids are coming over to the lighthouse to rehearse, and you're okay.
Don't go away. There's more to come.
Ooh, oh, boy, well, I'm sorry to...
What a day, what a day.
Yeah, I'm sorry to frighten you, Skipper. I mean, you thought I was arrested and everything. I should have left a note
The
for you.
telephone line was so bad.
Yeah.
When you said that you were in the police station, I automatically assumed, that you had been in trouble for something. And that was my mistake. But I owe it all to you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had a tour of the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary building in St. John's. What a day that was, Roy.
Well, it turned out to be a good day. Oh,
it was a good day. It was a good day. What did you think was the most interesting about all of that?
Well, there were so many things, I mean, from the fingerprinting to the computer to the rifle range and all the technical equipment that they got and the programs and everything.
I had no idea because, when you get right down to it, the police officer is just like one of the rest of the citizens, and they do their job, and they're the best they can. They have their own families. They have their own lifestyle. And I can tell the boys and girls at home, you boys and girls, if you have any problems, you're lost sometime or anything ever happens, if you see a police officer, talk to the police officer. He won't do you any harm, and he loves you, and that's what he's paid for, and he'll help you every time. Is that right, Corky?
That's right. That's right. I know a fellow one time went into the police station, and he came in and he said, hey, can somebody help me? Please. He said, I've been robbed. So the officer, wanted to jump up and help him immediately. He said, well, give me a description of the man. He said, well, no, it wasn't a man. He said, it was an elephant.
What? Wait a minute. An elephant was the robber?
And the police sergeant kind of gave him a strange look, too. He said, oh, yeah, he figured the guy was putting them on. He said, an elephant, I see, oh, yeah. All right. He said, well, what kind of elephant was it? He said, well, what do you mean, what kind of elephant? It was a big gray elephant, 4 feet, big, long trunk.
There's different elephants. There's an Indian elephant, there's an African elephant, one as big as...
That's what the cop said to the guy. As a matter of fact, he said, there's a difference in elephants, Mr. Smarty Pants. He said, like the Indian elephants got bigger ears than the African elephants. So he said, Mr. Smarty Pants, you tell me. He said, what kind of elephant was it? The guy said, gee, I don't know. He was wearing a mask.
He was wearing a mask. He should have told that to the boys down at the cassette.
Yeah, I'd still be down there.
Well, Corky, I got to admit, this has been a day that's been different for me than most other days. You see how another man earns his living, and you see how other people work. And The members of the Newfoundland Constabulary, the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, that's their job. They're professionals. Their job is to protect citizens, you know, and they want to help the honest tax-paying, everyday person, the people who kind of work every day, and they're all worried about their children. They're all worried about honesty and robbery. And we have a lot to worry about. I'm glad we have something like the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary here in Newfoundland.
Uh-huh. Listen, you hungry?
I am hungry.
I'm starved.
You want to cook up another one of your specialties?
Let's go and cook up
I'll
a
try
job.
anything today, my friend.
How about bologna under glass?
Bologna under glass?
I
can
like
that
it.
one. That ought to be pretty good. Fine.
All right.
All right, block parent. Anyways, God bless everybody. Do take care, and we'll be talking soon.